Good evening, folks. My name is Eric Madison. I'm going to be your MC for tonight. I'm no Ed McMahon, and I don't have Vanna's legs, but I'm going to do the best I can, so bear with me. I'm going to start off this evening by introducing the members of the Charter Commission to you. I'll ask each of them to stand or wave their arms or do something to indicate who they are. Our chair is Don Starks. Don is also a current member of the Appropriations Committee in town. Vice chair is the esteemed Larry Levine. Larry is the former chair of the member of the school committee, a former chair and member of the Board of Selectmen, and he was also a member of the 2004 Charter Commission. Our secretary, Russell Denver. Russ is a current member and former chair of the Appropriations Committee and a former member of the Capital Planning Committee. Bill Fonseca. Bill is a member and current vice chair of the school committee. George Kingston. George is current member and former chair of the planning board, former member of the Conservation Commission, and former chair of the chair of the Community Preservation Committee. Me, Eric Madison. I currently chair the Appropriations Committee in town, and I formerly chaired and was a member of the Capital Planning Committee. Ray Miller. Just dawned on me I had a slideshow for all of this. It's working good as planned, right? So let me keep going while our technical guy works on this. Ray Miller was the member of the 2004 Charter Commission and former chair and member of the Appropriations and Capital Planning Committees. Tom O'Connor, who is not here tonight, is the current chair and member of the Capital Planning Committee, former chair of the Register of Voters and member of the Election Commission in town here. And Ralph Page, Ralph is here, current chair and member of the Planning Board and current member of the Community Preservation Committee. Hey, we're back in business. So what I'm going to do here tonight, I got a quick presentation. I'm going to try to run through this. We want to leave as much time as we can for questions. I'm going to run through each article, really only highlighting certain parts of that article. I'm not going to go into detail on every section of the charter. We'll be here all night. So I've kind of bullet pointed each section as we go. So Article 1 is where the division of powers are established. This section establishes the legislative powers of the town council, or with the town council, formally done at town meeting. And I say formally if the charter passes, so bear with me on that. Additionally, it establishes the power of administration, prudential, and municipal affairs of the executive branch with the town manager. Most of these are currently conducted by the Board of Selectmen. This is one point where I just kind of want to stop and point one thing out. There's been a lot of confusion, and we've heard an awful lot about people saying the council is just a larger Board of Selectmen. I kind of want to clear that up a little bit. The council has an entirely different role than our current Board of Selectmen. Most of the responsibilities of the current Board of Selectmen will become the responsibility of the town manager. Although there are a few executive roles of the council, the majority of the council's role is legislative. Article 2, Section 1, it talks about the composition and membership of the town council. This is where we designate the 7 members, all elected at large. We're not recommending districts. Each of them serving 3-year terms staggered, with exception, folks, of the very first election, and later on in the presentation I'll explain that one to you. It further goes on in Section 4 to outline the council procedures. A couple of the bullet points I wanted to point out: the frequency, at least monthly. Now they can meet more than monthly, but at least monthly by the charter they have to meet. requires that the public has the right to be heard at all council meetings, including subcommittee meetings. So if the council breaks into subcommittees to look into a certain matter or do a certain task, those subcommittee meetings also, the residents have a right to be heard at those. I will point out that there is no language in the charter restricting these to, I keep hearing 2 minutes. There is language in the charter that allows the council to adopt rules that would obviously to some extent limit the public comment section. I mean, if we think about it, if they're going to have a 2-hour meeting and 1 hour and 45 minutes of it is public comment, the council's not going to get a whole lot done. So, but there's nothing in there about a 2-minute rule. The majority of the council constitutes a quorum under the rules, and the clerk, and by clerk, when we refer to the clerk, we're referring to the town clerk. The town clerk is also the clerk of the council. The other thing I kind of want to clear up here is there is nothing in the charter that schedules council meetings during the day. In fact, the charter is silent as to when the council meetings are held, other than they have to be monthly. One would assume that the residents that run for and get elected to the council probably have jobs, and therefore necessity would dictate the council meetings will be in the evening, as they always have been in our town for elected boards. Article 2, continuing the general powers and duties, the council will hold all corporate, legislative, and appropriation powers, enact bylaws, rules, regulations, and orders, appoint the town manager. The council would be the licensing authority, and we did put in there that the council must, on an annual basis, evaluate the town manager's performance. That would be a public process with a public document. Under town bylaws, the form and proposed bylaws must be in, and posting requirements are all dictated in section 6. They must be read at 2 separate meetings before they can be acted upon, and it requires a majority of the council to pass by a roll call vote. I do want to point out here that by state statute, zoning bylaw changes require a 2/3 vote of the council, just like they require a 2/3 vote at town meeting. I saw the moderator here. Is he still here? Is that a correct statement, sir? Okay. So the council still has to adhere to that. 2/3 of a 7-person council is 4.6, I think it is, so it requires 5 members of the council, of the 7-man council, to pass a zoning bylaw, to change a zoning bylaw. Section 10, prohibitions. The town council or town council member no town council or town council members shall give orders or directions, either publicly or privately, to any employee of the town not appointed by the council. The commission felt that it was important to clarify that the council members cannot act independently, and they do not supervise town employees, with the exception of the town manager. So this chart illustrates the current structure of our town government. In the background work that we did in the early stages of our meetings.
Excuse me, can't see it. Can you tell what the titles are?
Sure. Okay, along the top row in red, there's represented the board. So there's Board of Public Works, School Committee, Housing Authority, Board of Selectmen, Planning Board, Assessors, Library Trustees, and Moderator. These are all elected positions in the town of East Long Meadow. Underneath each of the given boards would be the areas that they manage, if you will. So underneath the DPW, there'd be the streets, the water and sewer. Under the schools, there's the superintendent of schools. Underneath the Board of Selectmen are departments, because there's a variety of numbers and the box was way too little to list them all. Finance, And boards, let me see, going away over to the library trustees is obviously the library. And under the moderator would be the appropriations in capital. It is worth noting that capital is done, the members of capital are appointed in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen, correct? Okay. This represents the structure under the proposed charter. One thing that I want to point out is this structure has been operating successfully in our town for many, many years. It's been operating in the school department under the very same structure. Under the school department, the voters elect the school committee. The school committee appoints the superintendent of schools. The superintendent of schools then supervises his principals and so on. His principals then supervise the teachers and so on down the line. We're suggesting the same structure for the town. So the voters elect the town council. The town council appoints a town manager. The town manager supervises the Department of Finance, the Department of Community Development, the Department of Public Works, police, fire, IT, all those others, and then also the appointed boards and committees. Under Article 3, in Section 1, Appointments and Qualifications, the Town Council appoints the Town Manager. Section 1 requires that the Town Manager to be especially qualified by education and training with prior experience as a city or town manager or assistant town manager or equivalent public or private sector level experience. Section 2, powers and duties. The town manager will be the chief executive officer of the town and have the following powers and duties. Appoint, suspend, or remove department heads, employees, members of boards and commissions. The police chief, fire chief, and DPW director appointments must be confirmed by the town council. I want to pause here for 1 minute and clear up one little item. It's been suggested that somehow the Charter Commission is either supportive or somehow responsible for the hiring of the current town administrator. Please let me assure you that nothing could be further from the truth. The Commission does not endorse, support, or even enjoy the recent events surrounding the Board of Selectmen, the discharge of the Chief of Police, or the hiring of the town administrator. Any accusations implicating the Charter Commission as being involved in any way is completely wrong. And quite frankly, it's an insult to the men and women of the Charter Commission who've donated so much time to this effort. All right, continuing with the powers and duties of the town manager. The town manager prepares and presents the annual budget to the town council. He prepares and updates a town master plan every 5 years.
Excuse me, Eric, back a slide. Who said all that stuff that you just said?
That's irrelevant.
No, it is irrelevant. It is relevant.
We'll take questions at the end, okay?
Okay, but don't be going to one side of the thing, that's not true.
Go on.
Supervise and direct all town departments, agencies, and offices, with the exception of the schools. Fix the compensation for town employees. Assist the town council and attend at all meetings. Execute contracts, negotiate union contracts, develop and revise a personnel management plan. And there are other duties that are listed in the charter. One thing I do want to point out, all contracts, although negotiated by the town manager, are subject to funding by the town council. So there's a system of checks and balances there. No contract is effective if it's not funded. Section 4, under removal, discipline, or suspension, this is of the town manager, requires a supermajority vote of the full council at a council meeting. School committee. Really, there's no changes in the school committee. We pretty much took what was in our current bylaws and put it into the charter. There's no changes in the makeup, the way they're elected, or the way they operate. So Article 5 is the administrative organization. And in Section 1, this section authorizes the town manager to develop an organization or a reorganization plan for the town departments and agencies to be filed with the town council. The plan may establish, reorganize in whole or in part any agency, consolidate, abolish any town agency or department, establish operating divisions for orderly, efficient town business, include bylaw changes needed to accomplish the desired reorganization, because some of these things are addressed in the town bylaws. And the town council must approve or disapprove the plan after holding at least one public hearing. So the mere fact that the town manager might want to make the changes, he's got to convince the council, and the council has to have a public hearing so that the residents have a vote. Or input, I guess is better stated. Section 2, merit principle. All appointments and promotions of town employees must be based on the merit and fitness demonstrated by examination, past performance, or other evidence of competence and suitability. Appointments are made by the town manager, and in some cases of various boards, and in some cases are confirmed by the town council. Article 6 is fiscal and financial procedures. This was one section very near and dear to my heart with my experience on the Appropriations Committee, as it was with some of my fellow council members, commission members rather. So the annual budget process kind of goes like this. I'm going to slow down a little bit on this one so everybody can kind of grasp it, because it's not complex, but there's a lot of moving parts. The town manager shall set policy and procedure for preparation of the town budget. The town council shall hold at least one public hearing on the budget. The process shall include the town council and school committee shall meet to review the financial status of the town. The town manager and the town council shall meet to discuss the council's priorities for the upcoming budget. The town manager and the superintendent of schools meet to discuss the upcoming fiscal year budget. The town manager submits a proposed budget to the town council by May 1 that includes the school department budget. Now, the town council may amend the budget, but they must adopt the budget by June 1 of each year. The thought process here, folks, was to pull together the stakeholders, including the residents at the public hearing, so that the budget is developed not in a vacuum, but hopefully, I mean, you can't force people to cooperate, but if the process is there, hopefully it will bring them together to cooperate and work toward common goals. Capital improvement plan submitted concurrently with the annual budget. The town manager must submit an annual capital improvement plan, and the plan must itemize and a justification of all capital improvements, cost estimates and financing recommendations. And again, the town council may amend the capital improvement plan, but must pass it by June 1st. Also in the fiscal procedures, an independent audit is called for annually that requires the council to provide for an independent audit annually by a certified public accountant or an agency of such accountants. That's not unlike we do now. The town does have an audit done annually. Section 4, financial management standards. This section authorizes the council to pass bylaws establishing reasonable standards relating to the financial systems and practices. Standards shall conform to modern concepts of financial management. We put a lot of emphasis on proper financial management in the charter. see, okay. Article 7 highlights the town elections. So this is where some other changes have come about. The general elections would be now held in early June, instead of moved from April. Preliminary elections, if required, will be held 5 weeks prior to the general elections. Article 8 is all about what we call the citizen relief mechanisms. I just want to take a second here and remind you that Article 2, Section 4 ensures that all meetings of the Town Council and subcommittee meetings shall be open to the public, and the public shall have the opportunity to be heard. So Article 8 was developed to preserve and enhance the rights of the public to reverse council and school committee decisions, bring initiatives forward for consideration, and recall elected officials. All of these options are not available to the residents under our current system. The Charter Commission recognized that in any form of government, as we've all seen in recent weeks, decisions can be made that are not representative of the will of the people. Article 8 provides for a reversal of such decisions, as well as a mechanism for residents to bring a measure up for consideration, much like a petition article at a town meeting does now, and a recall provision to remove an elected official from office. So Section 1 outlines the form and content of a petition that it must be in. Petitions to the council or school committee requires that the council or school committee to hold a public hearing and act upon all petitions submitted in proper form within 3 months. So it ties the council's hands. They have to hold a public hearing and they have to act upon it within 3 months. They can't put it in a drawer and forget that it exists. Citizen initiative measures. This process allows citizens to petition the town council or the school committee on a particular initiative, much like a citizen warrant article does now. The council or school committee must act upon the petition within 30 days. If the council or school committee rejects a petition, petitioners can file a supplemental initiative petition requiring the measure to appear on the ballot of the next annual town meeting. So it kind of gives a second bite at the apple, if you will.
Meeting or election? You stated meeting.
No, election. My apologies. So if the council shoots it down, if initiative is brought forward, the council shoots it down, there's a process in here that you can force it to go to a town election and let the whole town vote on the measure. There's also the citizen referendum procedures. This process allows citizens to file a petition in protest of a council or school committee measure, causing the council or school committee to reconsider their initial measure, the initial vote. If not rescinded, the question shall be submitted for determination by the voters at either a special or annual town election. And here's the interesting thing, folks. While being considered, the initial measure shall be suspended. So the measure cannot move forward if it's being protested. Measures with conflicting provisions. This just is if two measures go to a town election that conflict with each other, and it could happen, the one that gets the highest number of votes prevails. The citizen recall procedures. This section allows a recall procedure for any elected official. A person recalled who resigns during a recall proceeding may not be appointed to any elective office in town for 2 years. I do a little bit later, I'm going to kind of go over how that process works real fast. So Article 9, periodic review of the charter. The council shall provide for a special committee to review the charter and recommend updates every 10 years, each year ending with a 0. So if the charter is enacted in April, It's 2016, in 4 years will be the opportunity to make adjustments to the charter. And then every 10 years thereafter. The council must act upon the committee's recommendations within 90 days. So the council can't bury the recommendations of the committee. The same thing holds true for bylaws. So each year ending in a 5, the same process takes place as it relates to our bylaws. This helps ensure that both the charters and the bylaws stay current with the needs of the community. I know it sounds corny, but we had to throw this in here. I think it's important that it requires all elected or appointed officials to take an oath of office and to receive a certificate of such oath from the town clerk. I'm old-fashioned, that means something to me. Section 9, felony conviction. I don't think anybody's going to guess why this is there, but if an elected official is convicted of a felony while in office, he or she will be deemed to have vacated the office. So Article 10 is all about the transitions. It talks about how we're going to move from, if the charter passes, how we move from the current form of government to the new form of government without any disruption, particularly to the services to the residents. So it was developed to preserve the operations of the town government during and after the transition into the new charter. Article 10 also outlines the methodology to be used during the transition. So in Section 1, it states some things. The section basically states that all bylaws, resolutions, rules, regulations, or votes taken at town meeting remain valid and in force after the adoption of the charter. The only exception to that is this next bullet, that if any bylaw, resolution, rules, regulations, orders, or special acts conflict with the provisions of the charter shall prevail.
Are you aware of any now?
Yeah, because there's things that speak to town meeting.
Okay.
So just as an example, yes.
Thank you.
Section 3, continuation of government and personnel. This section states that all office, board, committee, commissions, or agencies in place now will remain in place until they are either re-elected, reappointed, or their duties are assumed by another office. So if an office is to be replaced by something else in the charter, that won't happen until the new something else is ready to go, ready to assume those duties. Additionally, any person holding office or employment shall retain such employment and continue to perform their respective duties until the provisions required in the charter have been made. This really was put in there to provide for a continuation of government, that there's not a period of time where functions don't get done, don't get taken care of. The charter does come into effect upon adoption. So if it's voted on April 12th, once the votes are tallied, if it's successful and passes, it's in effect. Elections and elected and appointed positions. So Section 6 outlines how the town will transition upon passage of the charter, and this is where I talked about how we'll slow down a little bit here to make sure everybody grasps this. The last town meeting will be held on May 16th, 2016, during which the budget for next fiscal year, 2017, will be enacted. No actions contrary to the charter may be enacted. The town council elections will be held on June 7th. There'll be no primary for this election. So if we have 15 people running for council, all 15 will appear on the ballot. This one time only, the first time only. The number of votes each candidate receives will determine his or her term in office. So the 3 folks that get the highest number of votes will serve 3-year terms. The next two that get the next two highest number of votes will serve 2-year terms, and then the next two highest number of votes will serve 1-year terms. And from that point on, they're staggered terms, and they run for re-election
Every 3 years?
every 3 years, with the exception of those that on the first year are like serving a 1-year term. They'll have to either run for re-election the next year or not run, but their term is up.
There's also, I didn't see anything here about, if we do pass this, and for some reason a year or two down, it's not working for us, there's nothing there that says, how do we go back to what we have now?
Okay, that's a good question, but would you mind if we take care of that during the question section? Because the other thing I want you to do is go to the mic and ask it so everybody can hear it. Okay, thank you. So newly elected councilors will be sworn in on July 1st and immediately shall meet to establish officers and establish a committee to design the process for the selection of a town manager. School committee elections will not change, just simply the terms of office for that 1 year will be extended to June till they get caught up in the new election cycle. The Board of Selectmen will continue to conduct executive business of the town until July 1st, at which time they will be abolished. I do want to point out, there is a section in the charter that restricts some of the authorities that the board has so that we don't see a pandemonium like we've seen the last few weeks take place once if they're going to be removed from office.
They'll be removed, no matter what.
Elections in elected and appointed positions, the Board of Health, which currently is the Board of Selectmen, shall continue until the new Board of Health is appointed by the town manager. At that point, the current Board of Health, which is the Board of Selectmen, will be dissolved. So that Board of Health will be dissolved then. Members of the Board of Assessors, Public Works, Library Trustees, Planning Board, and elected members of the Housing Authority shall continue to serve the balance of their terms. So departments. In the transition section, we establish a Department of Municipal Finance that the town manager must establish. This department will be managed by a finance director and will include all the accounting department and their functions, the collector treasurer and their functions, the assessor's office and their functions. The finance director may also hold one of these positions. The town manager will appoint a town clerk. So the town clerk will no longer be a clerk, treasurer, collector. There'll be a treasurer, collector, and there'll be a town clerk, two separate positions. Department of Planning and Community Development will be established by the town manager. An appointed director of the Planning and Community Development will coordinate the functions of boards, offices, and departments in land use and regulation management, building department, planning department, zoning board of appeals, and conservation commission. Also, just like the finance director, the director of the Planning and Community Development may also serve as one of the other positions in one of those offices. So these boards will be appointed by the town manager as follows. The Board of Assessors, 3 members. Board of Public Works, 3 members. Library Trustees, 6 members. Planning Board, 5 members. Housing Authority, 5 members. And Board of Health, 3 members. So the numbers appointed to each board does not change. But rather than elected officials, they become appointed officials. Okay, this next section, that pretty much is my briefing of the charter. This next section, I'm just going to go through rather quickly some of the common misconceptions and or questions that we have gotten sent to us. So the first one is, The proposed charter will enable low-income housing and fast food restaurants to build all over our town. The restrictions of such development are found in the town's zoning bylaws. The charter proposes no changes to these bylaws, and I think I spoke a little bit earlier about what is required for a change of zoning bylaws.
Eric, excuse me, once again, can you identify the source of this?
Nope,
Why not?
because I don't have it here.
Is that hearsay?
I don't have it in front of me. The hearsay, this isn't a court of law, Peter.
Who said that?
If the charter passes, will people get to vote on issues like Proposition 2.5 overrides? The answer to that is yes. Issues that must be decided by referendum questions now will still be decided by voters if the charter's passed. There's nothing in the charter that changes those. In fact, many of those are by state law. Other issues of importance, such as the budget, bylaw changes, changes to the charter, all require at least one, and in some cases, 2 public hearings before it can be enacted upon. If residents don't agree with a vote taken by the council on a particular measure, they can force the measure to a referendum vote of the town. And again, if you remember what I said, if a measure is being contested, then it's placed on hold until it's decided upon.
Eric, is that a misconception or a question?
It's been posed as both. It's been posed as statements, it's been posed as questions.
So what is the charter, what's the guidance from the charter
On the,
on that question, misconception?
well, all 3 of those.
If residents don't agree with the vote taken by the council on a particular measure, they can force, will they be able to force a referendum?
Yes,
Oh, so
yes,
it's
I'm
not-
sorry. Yes, I'm sorry, I thought I was clear on that. My mistake.
Can you repeat that?
His question was that if the residents don't like the vote of the council on a particular measure, can they force it to a referendum? The answer is yes, they can. This one comes to us in a lot of different forms, so I'm kind of paraphrasing here. We've seen the dysfunction of a 3-person board of selectmen. How will a 7-member council be any better? I really want to point this out, folks. It's worth noting that any form of government is only as effective or efficient as those people who participate in it. The potential for dysfunction exists in all forms of governance. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there'll never be any dysfunction under the proposed charter. In fact, when we literally looked into this, there is no form of government that's accepted in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that protects itself from what we've seen entirely for the last few days. You can find a case in any of the forms of government where things have occurred that probably shouldn't have. The council, I also want to point out the council has very little, I didn't say no, but very little executive power. Most decisions made now by the Board of Selectmen will be made by the town manager under the proposed charter, not the town council. So they really have different roles. The commission also recognizes that the more members of a council, the less potential exists for collusion. That's why actually there's a lot of reasons why we have recommended a 7-person council. But the more members you have of the council, obviously the less opportunity is there for collusion. If the residents, one more. Again, if the residents become disillusioned with 1 or more council members, the charter provides for a recall provision to remove them from office. Will the provisions of the charter cost money? Potentially, yes, it will. There are some potential added costs recommended in the charter. They include a town manager. Typically, a town manager makes more money than a town administrator. It's safe to say if we want a quality town manager, if this passes, we're going to have to pay the going rate for a quality town manager. My guess is it's more money than the current town administrator receives.
You have a figure in mind?
Eric.
If it were me?
Eric, suggestion. People should hold the questions till the end, so people watching on LCAT can hear the question and the answers.
Yeah, well,
When Eric can hear it, he can repeat it. You have a figure in mind.
do I?
Well,
Not our job.
must have discussed it, that you have a figure in mind.
Oh,
No, we haven't discussed what we would, because it's not our role to recommend an amount. That truly would be up to the council. The finance director. The charter has provided for this position to be an additional responsibility of an existing position, keeping the cost down. Does that mean that's what the town manager will choose? No, it doesn't. We're not going to try to fool you here. Does the finance director cost the town more money? Yes, it does. Personally, I think it's well worth it. Probably save us that more than. Director of Planning and Community Development, the same thing as the finance director. Will that cost more money? Yes, it will. The clerk's position, I spoke to you earlier how we've separated the clerk, treasurer, collector to a treasurer, collector, and a clerk now. So that's a whole new position. Will that cost more? Of course it will. In the town council, the charter provides for compensation to be fixed in the town budget. This question has come to us very frequently. The charter is silent to how much. It's not, first off, it's not an amount that, the charter is not where that should be. If it should be anywhere, it should be in bylaws, not in the charter. But did we allow for them to receive a stipend, just as our Board of Selectmen do, just as our DPW board does? Heck, as Appropriations Committee, I get $300 a year. Don't everybody ask for it at once. There's also going to be some costs eliminated, although small. The Appropriations Committee will cease to exist. There goes my 300. The town meeting costs, $7,500 a year, round figures, for the 2 town meetings. We honestly believe that there'll be significantly less use of town council. That could add up to some substantial savings. We also believe that this form of government offers efficiencies that will show savings in many other ways. Can I equate that to a dollar amount? I can't. Again, it's dependent upon the people in the position carrying out the job the way they're supposed to. Although most of the costs will be subject to the vote of the town council, we've estimated an additional cost of between $100,000 and $125,000 annually. Again, there's a lot of variables there. I'm not going to stand up here and, tell you anything that's not true. There's a lot of variables. Could it be more than that? Yes, it could. Could it be less than that? Yes, it could. So the last thing I'm going to do is kind of go over a recall provision, because obviously with the events of late, we've gotten a lot of questions on this. So I've broken down, several paragraphs into some bullet points. So first, a petition must be filed that contain the name of the official sought to be recalled, a statement of grounds for the recall, and a signature of 500 registered voters. The town clerk must then issue what's called recall blanks to the first 10 names appearing on the petition. These blanks, the petitioners then take these blanks out, get them signed by an additional different 500 registered voters within 30 days, and return them to the clerk, making a total of 1,000 signatures, or roughly, actually it's less than, 10% of the town voters. The clerk then submits the completed petition to the town council. The town council, and this is a whole paragraph, though it's the council does some stuff, the president does some stuff, they must officially notify the official who is the subject of the recall. The official who's the subject of the recall has 7 days to resign from office. If the official does not resign, the council must order an election to be held between 64 and 90 days from the date the petition was certified by the clerk. So if the petition is certified by the clerk before it goes to the council. So they've got to back up to that date and have an election between 64 and 90 days. If the official is recalled by the election, it's effective immediately. Let me talk a little bit about the numbers. The council chose the number of signatures because we felt that a recall is an issue of seriousness. And it shouldn't be so easy that a special interest group could force a recall, but yet it needs to be obtainable to gather the required signatures. We felt that if 10% of the registered voters couldn't get together to sign a petition, then perhaps a recall was not in order. It's only 10%, or it's actually less than, I think we have about 11,000 registered voters. So 1,000 represents less than 10% of the registered voters. That is my presentation, and I know you're all tired of hearing me talk. Just two other quick items before I go. I talked a little bit earlier about what requires a two-thirds vote of the council. Remember, it's a 7-person council, so 2/3 would have to be 5 members. These are by state law: borrowing money, amendments to the town charter, adoption or change of zoning ordinances or zoning bylaws, establishment of historic districts, a tax override procedure, which does go to a ballot question too, regional school districts purchasing land, these are all by state statute, establishment of agricultural incentive areas, the rescission of restrictions of Article 97 lands, and I have here, for example, to remove a conservation restriction or an agricultural preservation restriction on town land. And the last one is taking of land or easements by eminent domain. They all require a 2/3 vote of the council by law.
Can we get a list of that?
Yeah, we can put it on our website. Yeah. In fact, who's the website guy?
Yeah, give it to me.
So this brings us to the questions portion of the program. I just want to remind you that the purpose of this forum is to answer questions and clear up any confusion that may exist in regards to the proposed charter. Our intent is to provide you with accurate information so you may make an informed decision when considering your vote. With this in mind, we're asking that you refrain from expressing your opinion, regardless if it's in favor or opposed to the charter. This is a question and answer forum and not a debate. The Commission does not intend to debate the merits of the proposed charter tonight, as that ship has sailed, folks, but rather answer questions as to its content and clear up any confusion you may have. We really only ask 2 things of you. First, please read the proposed charter in its entirety and make your decisions based upon fact. And second, regardless of whether you're in favor of the charter or opposed to the charter, please go out and vote April 12th. That's it. For that, I will open up the microphone to questions. Here we go.
Eric, how you doing? Thanks for putting the words up. Sorry, sir. Peter Kokotis, 32 Sutton Place. I'm also sponsoring the town meeting warrant for the recall. But thank you for putting the slide that had the org chart and reading. Couldn't read it back there. I realize that there's no state law that limits whether commissioners can run for town council. Has the 9 council commission members pledged that they're not going to run?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because you really did take on a consulting role And usually there's like the appearance of a conflict of interest because you could design.
I'm Russell Denver. I will not be running for town council.
Oh, good.
Is that good for you?
Okay, so you want to just take a roll call then? Just go right down to.
No, I don't, Peter, and I'll tell you, I don't know if anybody at this table plans to run for council. We haven't discussed it.
Well, you should know.
Let
You've
me
been doing it
finish,
for 2
please.
years. Well, you've been talking all night. Go ahead.
But I can tell you that I've worked with these folks for several months now. There's some really bright, really good people on this commission. Quite frankly, I'd be honored to vote for any of them.
Okay, so your answer is just one person?
Well, he just did that now.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Peter, that is not relevant to the conversation.
Yep.
It is not part of the charter.
We're
We
really-
left it open so anyone, a registered voter and resident, can run for town council. That is the parameter we set. We did not want to restrict any resident or town voter from running for office.
Well, you can
If we run for office, it
restrict our
isn't it-
speech right now, though, right?
Excuse
You've
me?
been talking all night. So you have these
That is
ground
the
rules
excuse me.
to shut us down?
Excuse me.
No, I'm not going to listen to you because, first of
Then-
all, I have the floor.
You're out of
No,
order.
there
You're out
is
of
no
order,
out of
Mr.
order.
Kokonis.
So, Peter, if you have
No,
a question of
I do have-
clarification,
I
please
did.
ask it.
I
A
did.
relevant question.
So I want to know, are the rest of the members pledging?
That's not relevant to the charter. The charter says that we are eligible to run.
Well, see,
That's all you need to know.
this is exactly what's happening here, folks.
No, I'll answer you, no, they're not gonna take that pledge.
What's that?
No, they're not taking that pledge, otherwise they'd have jumped up and taken it.
Okay, so thank you, Russ, for doing that. Appreciate that.
Peter, you're asking us, are you gonna run?
No. No, I play a role in the town meeting as a legislative budget analyst, and there's plenty of us here that should do the same thing, because it is the last stop to do a check and balance, to have the speech controlled by you tonight, okay? Yeah, go ahead and laugh. Yeah, nice smirk. Yep. So
Actually, Mr. Kokonis, if you
No.
ran for town council,
it's
you would
not
be part
Kokonis.
of,
You know, I know you couldn't pronounce Tanya, it was Tanya, right?
Okay.
So
I-
it's Kokotis?
You
You are
know,
out of order.
that's enough.
No.
Next in the line,
No,
please.
yeah, you came in last too, don't worry about it.
My name is Richard Turnberg, and I live up on the Summers Road. I want to thank you, people, for serving as the commissioners. I think you've done an outstanding job.
Thank you,
A lot of thought and time went into it.
thank you.
I have a simple question, so I'm sure I'll get a simple answer, I hope. The town manager is going to have a lot of authority and responsibility.
Yes,
Now, I'm going to refer to page 12, where it says Section 4, removal and discipline suspension. See, first of all, I want to tell you, I really like this supermajority. I really do. That's a great thing. So it says here, you need a supermajority to remove the town manager. All right?
yes, sir.
Now, if you go to page 8, it says the town council shall appoint a majority vote. Now, I think, like I just said, the town manager is going to have a lot of authority and responsibility. Why would it not require a supermajority to appoint this highly qualified, educated, skilled, experienced, accomplished person with a supermajority? Because if you have that 3 and 3, that one person is going to decide the fate of who might be a good person, who might not be qualified. Can somebody answer that? Stop for a minute and think of what I'm saying. You're going to get rid of him with a supermajority, but you're going to hire him with only a majority.
So I'll speak to that briefly.
Please.
Because as it relates to the number for the appointment, I think you make a very good point. As it relates to the number to remove them, quite frankly, I was the one that brought that up in the proceedings. For those of you that don't know me, I used to work in a surrounding community. I've been in municipal government my entire life. I have seen very, very good town managers
He's also my nephew.
who were removed from office basically by a special interest group. So that's why I pleaded with the council to put that section in. I convinced them that it was needed. I gave them some examples as to why it was needed. So that's why the supermajority to remove. To be honest with you, I don't no, we didn't, we did talk about, you know, how much to, whether it should be a supermajority or not to appoint him, and I really don't
I
know that much about it, do you?
I think it's, well, you didn't think about it, maybe you should think about it now. I think it's very important to hire a good qualifier initially to get this thing started. Why? So the supermajority is, like I said, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah,
I mean, look at what we had here with this 2-to-1 thing, you know. Whether you have 7 people, 9 people, 11 people.
No, I think you raise a very valid point.
Thank you. Can you do anything about it, or we're going to
We can't, it's too
Okay.
late.
Well, maybe when you have a revision
We
or
can
something
in
like
4
that.
years. If it passes in 4 years, it'll be an even numbered year, and yeah, that's one of those things. That
Thank you
might
very much.
need
And
adjustment.
again, I applaud you people. Thank you very much for doing a great job.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gary Landers, I'm a resident of East Long Meadow. I have a question about the town manager position and about the boards. As stated, the town manager is going to have a lot of power because they're going to be able to appoint people to the different boards, where now we elect those people. So I noticed in here that the town manager does not have to be a resident of East Long Meadow. Is that true?
What we put in there, quasi-true, we put in there a residency requirement, but we also put in there the ability for the council to waive that requirement.
Right, so they do not have to be residents. So they could be resident, let's say, of Long Meadow, or West Springfield, or Wilbraham, and make decisions in this town. The second question is that we're going from elected board members that the people of East Long Meadow elect to this town manager, who may not be a resident, will elect his friends or people that he wants in these particular positions who may have outside interests into these boards. And is it true that these board members also do not have to be residents of the town of East Long Meadow? So we will have people who are not residents of this town, not elected by this town, controlling this town. You realize what that means? Is that true, sir?
No, it's not.
Why not?
We didn't put in there that they can be residents from out of town.
Yes, it says may be a resident of East Long Meadow, which means they may not be.
Boards?
Yes,
May I
for the
address
boards.
the question?
Someone needs to clarify, that's my question, so.
The current general bylaws of the town do not require, other than the elected positions, to be residents of the town.
Right, and these board members will not be elected members.
That's correct.
There you are. Thank you very much. Everybody understand this?
Well,
Thank you.
I'd like to finish. And so since 1894, when the town was formed, we've had general bylaws that do not have any residence requirement for any other than the elected officials. So we have probably hundreds of appointed officials in town. The state law says that there is no residency requirement unless the board or individual appointing that person makes it a requirement, and if so, within a certain period of time. This town has occasion, on 2 occasions, I believe, that a member of the Cultural Affairs Committee was to be appointed who was a non-resident of town. By a specific state law, that cannot be done. It has to be a town resident. But I believe there was an appointment to the Council on Aging of a non-East Long Meadow resident.
Were they elected?
No, appointed.
By who?
Appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Okay, so for elected officials, yes, you have to be a registered voter, a citizen within the
Correct.
town. But all appointed positions, there's no requirement now, and the charter merely mirrors that in the future.
If I
But
could-
the board members now are elected, and they don't have, you're telling me the board members don't have to be residents now?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, so let's clarify that. So right now, they're elected by the people of East Long Meadow and their residents, is that true?
That's correct.
Thank you. Now, we talk about corruption, right? We're talking about, I mean, I'd like to see a 7-member selectman council, sure, because it reduces the corruption. But now we're saying we're going to go from 2 out of 3 selectmen who may be corrupt, hurting the town, to a single town manager who, if that person's corrupt, is placing in who they want in all these boards. Do you understand what that means to this town? That's my question. Do you understand the potential? Isn't there more potential for corruption there? That someone from outside this town who has an interest in putting Burger Kings in the middle of town or changing our town structure because they don't live here and they don't care. This is a mistake. Can you respond to that, Mr. Kingston?
Yes, I can speak to that. First of all, the town manager cannot change the zoning bylaws. That's up to the town council by a supermajority. So this whole business about threatening us with Burger Kings is total smoke and mirrors.
So you're saying that would never happen?
Secondly, okay?
Yeah.
It's one of the things that the town council can do, if they're concerned about that, is pass a bylaw that requires all members of specific boards to be town residents.
They could, but right now, it says it doesn't have to.
We don't have
Is that true?
We don't have that.
Is that true, Mr. Kingston?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, given the concern that you have, and that John Mayberry has, and that other people have, that bylaw will get passed very quickly.
4 years from now?
By the town council.
4 years from now?
No, within the first month that the town council
I
is.
thought we couldn't change bylaws until...
No, we can change bylaws anytime by a majority vote. Zoning bylaw is supermajority. Regular bylaws are a simple majority of the town council. That can be done within at the first meeting, if necessary. And if the town residents feel that strongly, I would hope that they would elect town councilors who would do that. Thank you.
But without a town meeting, the people of this town do not have a voice. So if a bylaw was passed, like it was tried to pass earlier against home-based tradesmen, if there was no town council, if there was no town meeting at that point, there'd be 50 businesses in this town out of business. Thank you.
Mr. Delisle.
Thank you for your time and effort in this. Two quick questions. I understand the supermajority on a council of 7 for the bylaw changes. If only 5 members show up, does it have to be unanimous, 5 out of 5? It's no longer 2/3 of 5?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Same with 6, it'd still have to be 5?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, the one process that's changing is the school committee budget. That'll be worked out between the school committee, the superintendent, and the town manager, correct?
Well, the budget that gets proposed to the council will be, yes.
Yes.
The council passes it, and they may alter it and change it.
Correct.
Yes.
So they have the final say over the school department budget now?
The council, yes.
Yes. And then if there's disagreement within the towns, then we go to the citizens initiative to override that budget, either to add or subtract from that budget.
If the residents didn't like the budget that the council passed, now there are some restrictions as it relates to what initiatives can, so they can't eliminate the entire budget, because then our town would cease to operate. But a specific area of the budget, I don't know, give me an example.
I'll give you an example. Say they wanted to eliminate music.
Yes, so that.
We could have a
that one-
citizens initiative to reinstate.
Yes, you can, yes.
And at town meeting, you would have to say where that money comes from, correct, currently? You have to have a funding source if you want to add.
You can't, right, you can't.
Correct. And
Unless.
do you have to
know, it's
identify
voted
that
plus.
funding source in the initiative, the citizens initiative, if there's something you want to put back into the budget?
No, well, I don't think so. I think it would be a charge, let me just answer that. It would be a charge to the council to find.
To find a way.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Now, bear in mind that if an initiative brought the town budget beyond the constraints of Prop 2.5, then everything would have to go to the 2.5 vote.
And that would go to ballot, right.
And that would go to ballot. So
Yes.
that just like that potential exists in town meeting. So if town meeting stood up, said we want X, Y, and Z, and it's gonna cost X number of dollars, and, we said, well, that's gonna throw us over the constraints of Prop 2.5, we'll let it go to a ballot vote.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay.
Good evening. Again, thank you for your time on the commission. 2 questions. First, I asked this question at the last informational meeting a few months ago, and I think now that you've really come to the final stage, regarding headcount, where do we stand with this charter regarding headcount versus current government?
I'm not sure your question. What do you mean head count?
Are there 50 people today running our town when it comes to Board of Selectmen, committees, boards. What is the new number going to be if the charter passes?
Well, potentially,
29
yeah,
officials.
Microphone.
There's 29 elected.
yeah, 20, he's saying 29 elected officials,
We go down to 13.
and we would go down to 13 elected, but there's, a lot of those boards that are currently elected would be appointed. So I would say you're adding 7 to the rolls,
Total.
the council.
Four.
4, right. yeah.
Well, I know on the
Because
council
board-
you'd be adding
Well, because
4.
the Board of Selectmen go away, so you'd be adding 4, yeah.
You sure about that? I'm questioning that number.
So, just to clarify, are you talking about full-time employees or full-time, or elected officials?
I'm talking about full-time and part-time employees.
Well, the full-time employees I ran through in the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
Or the potential full-time employees. Not necessarily full-time, that hasn't been decided, that's not decided in the charter.
Okay.
But, so I already ran through that. But as it relates to the boards, the Board of Selectmen go away, so there's 3 that go away, but a 7-member council comes
Right.
in.
Okay. I was looking for a total number, but it doesn't sound like you really have a handle on it.
Well,
Do you see what I'm trying to get to? Okay.
Go to the mic.
The charter specifically calls for the creation of a town clerk's position. Right now, we have a town clerk treasurer. That's one person holding 3 positions. So we would go down to a clerk treasurer, 1 position, and the creation of 1 town clerk position.
Okay.
Treasurer collector.
Oh, yeah, treasurer collector, thank you. And then, as Mr. Madison mentioned, we're forming a finance department and a planning and economic development department, of which potentially there could be 1 new position, or the town manager and the town council could give a stipend to an existing department head within that reorganization.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's all the charter calls for.
Okay.
Now, however, the town manager and town council could decide, just like town meeting could decide, to add additional employees.
Okay.
So,
All right.
okay?
Okay. Next question. With all the data that you've pulled in interviews from other towns regarding their government, I know it was asked previously, what have you accumulated in regards to what a town manager was making in surrounding towns and also the stipend that the town council was getting?
We did not gather data on the pay rates of those positions.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I can actually answer that question for you in just a second. I'm pretty technical savvy, so I actually went online as we were sitting here because you guys weren't quite sure what you would pay a town manager. So Andover, Massachusetts, which is about an hour from here, the population of about 8,900 people as of last year's census, and we are a town of about 15,000 given our last census. Their town manager for a town half the size, half the population size, makes $170,000 a year. So whatever 100 to 175 you are making, I don't know where you were getting those numbers.
Let me just qualify
Please.
one thing with that.
Go ahead.
So up until recently, I retired last year, I was a fire chief. I wish I made the amount of money the Andover fire chief makes, okay? You can't compare the salaries of Eastern Mass to the salaries of Western Mass.
And that's fine, but you guys aren't giving us anything to go on.
Well,
You guys are saying, well, we don't know, this could be that. You're basically going to have 7 elected officials decide their salaries.
So let me.
Hold on a second, I'm not done. Please give me a minute.
You need to ask a question.
I'm going to, and you need to give me a second to do that. You're giving everybody, yes, we will elect 7 people, but how is it ethical and how is it not in a conflict of interest to give those 7 people the option to decide what they're going to make, not only decide what they're going to make, but also hire somebody who may or may not live here, may or may not have this town's best interest at mind, and that other person is going to decide what he's going to make? I'd love to be able to decide what kind of money I'd make, because I wouldn't be working in the school system.
So I'll give you a comparable. The town manager in Long Meadow makes $125,000. They have 16,000 people. East Long Meadow has 16,000 people. The current town administrator's salary is $85,000. Okay?
Very good, very good.
Yeah, that's right. I do just want to, I'll just clarify real fast. It's not the place of the charter to stipulate salaries. It simply isn't.
Somebody needs to.
The council will be elected.
Sorry.
Good evening. So I have a question. If by chance the charter does not pass, by chance, and I commend you all for doing a lot of hard work. I've watched you on LCAT for quite a few number of months doing this. Do you have an opportunity to come back? I know you said tonight there's no tweaking, but if it didn't pass, can you come back in a relatively short time?
No.
With tweaks?
This commission is dissolved 30 days after the election, pass or fail. This
Okay, so
commission
there's
is
no
dissolved.
option. It's just,
Right.
if it passes, it's
There is-
the,
There is in state statute a waiting period. Does anybody know what it is? How many?
2 years.
2 years before the matter can be taken up again by the town.
okay. Can you
But then
explain?
you have to go through the whole process of, establishing a charter commission, electing them, and so on
Sure.
and so forth.
Can you explain to us why the school committee will not be dissolved and reappointed? Why the school committee will go through unchanged?
Because basically the makeup of the school committee, is designated by state statute.
Well, but they're elected.
Right.
But
Not,
now
not
all
the
the other-
individuals aren't, but they are elected positions to the school committee.
The
is
board,
state-
yeah,
it's
the
state
school
statute.
board or whatever we call
Yeah.
them. But they're elected, and they will continue to be elected.
Right, state law says that.
But DPW will not be elected.
Correct.
Okay. Will somebody like Tom Florence and Bob Parent lose their jobs, be replaced by the town manager?
It is not I don't know what the town manager is going to do. It's not the intent of the charter that they.
No, I understand that,
somebody lose.
but
In fact, we put language in there about.
But
their
with a new town
continuation of
manager,
employment.
he has that option of replacing a Tom Florence and a Bob Parent. He can do
does,
that?
yes.
Right at the onset?
Yes.
Okay. Will the new committee, the town council, have to follow open meeting laws?
Absolutely.
Well, that's good news. And no current, whatever we call this fella, the guy that sat over there in the corner, there's no chance that he can run for town manager. He can't be appointed town manager, right?
Well, he could apply, whether the council would hire him or not. Yeah, he could, yeah, no, there's nothing in here that says he can't apply.
Okay.
Yeah, right, you can apply.
No, thank you. Thank you.
There might be.
Okay, good. Another comparison was just brought up, the Palmer town manager, which incidentally works under a council town manager form of government, $117,000 a year.
Okay, good evening. Just to the commission, thank you very much, all of you, for your efforts. I would love to, in all the committees I've served on, it's nice to see everyone take an individual responsibility, and that isn't always the case. So thank you very much. I have a question about Human Resources Department. In all of the explanations, maybe I fell asleep at the switch, but is there any plan for a Human Resources department in this charter?
There is not. The
And-
charter is silent to a human resources department.
Okay, however.
I will share with you, though, I'll put on the other hat. You will be asked to vote to fund a human resources department at this year's annual budget process in May. I'm wearing
Okay.
my chairman
All
of
right,
the appropriations.
all right.
Committee
Well, that
hat.
was unclear, and we certainly could have used one right now. So, thank you very much.
I think you're right.
Okay.
Hi. I know all of you on the board, on the commission, and I respect all the work that you have done. You have done a great deal of research and spent a great deal of time and effort in formulating this. I have a question about Section 5 in Article 8, which stipulates certain measures that are ineligible for the referendum. And just coming off of what happened to our police chief, I want to know how that's going to work, if the citizens will have any say in the dismissal of anybody.
Could you tell us what page?
That's
21.
on
21.
page
Sorry.
21.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll gladly read all the stipulations unless you want to do it, Mr. Madison.
So you're talking under Section 5, ineligible measures?
Correct, that people, we will not be able to sponsor a referendum on initiative on that.
So, yeah, I'll run through them real fast. Proceedings related to the internal organization or operation of the town council or the school committee, an emergency measure adopted under the charter, the town budget or the school committee budget as a whole, not specifics of the budget, but as a whole, any appropriation for payment under the town's debt services, proceedings relating to the appointment, removal, discharge, employment, promotion, transfer, demotion of other personnel action. So yes, the answer to your question is the answer to your question is yes, the residents don't have a.
So we would be barred from any input to the council or any referendum procedure.
Well, understand the council, with the exception of the town manager, the council does not do the hiring and firing.
Right.
The town manager does. So the town manager does hire the police chief, the fire chief,
But
the
that's proved by
DPW director. They are confirmed by the council, up or
Right.
down. And all the other department heads are hired by the town manager.
Okay. All right, so our input on that would be taken away. Not that we had
Well,
any,
I don't know
not
that
that
you
we
have
had,
it.
not that we had any influence recently.
And to be perfectly honest with you, like I said, I've worked 35 years in municipal government, and I've worked under several different forms, and there is no form where the residents get to decide if somebody gets fired,
No.
other than elected official.
Oh, I understand
There simply
that.
is no form.
I understand that. I've been involved in municipal government for more than 40 years. However, for the residents to be heard or to start a petition on something like that, starting a petition they cannot do. But if they went to the council, they could be heard?
They have to be heard at the town council
Okay,
meeting,
that's
yes.
what I wanted
But
to
they don't
understand.
get a vote on whether the individual is dismissed or not.
Okay.
And again, there's no form of government where they.
No, and I understand that. And I have another question on the time frame involved in a regular, I think it's the citizen initiative petitions.
Okay.
Would you give me a time frame, because I found it a little confusing. I started reading it and I said, well, there's 21 days and then there's 60 days and then there's another 30 days. And if the town council or the school committee fails to act on that initiative within 30 days, then it's deemed rejected. So could you tell me how many months pass from the beginning of a citizen's initiative to the actual conclusion of it?
Well, it depends on the actions of the council, whether the council or school committee, either one, whether they act on it or don't act on it.
Okay, because
So
I
it's
came
not-
up with
there's not a-
approximately 4 months before you got action on it.
Could be potentially, yes.
Okay, that's not,
It could be.
that's not speedy government, is it?
Well,
Thank you.
I would only compare it to a referendum at town meeting now, or to a town vote. So now, if you want to bring something to a referendum question, we only go to an election once a year. If you want something addressed at town meeting, it's either in May or in most years, although not all years, but in most years, again in October. So
Well, my
I would
point is-
say that the 4 months, or the potential, could potentially be 4 months, but that this action is much faster than our current form.
Well, I know that at town meeting, we can generally get answers. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Gregory Thompson. A question about our taxes. Always we're interested in our taxes. Would the new proposed charter change how or increase my taxes relative to what a Board of Selectmen in town meeting could increase my taxes? Meaning, does the adoption of the charter override the levy? Does that change how the levy is calculated?
No, I think what you're asking, I'm not 100% clear on what you're asking, but I think what you're asking is the council must abide by the same statutes that govern the restrictions of Prop 2.5 as does town meeting.
With 2.5 plus growth, which creates that levy number.
Yeah, oh yeah, the way it's all calculated and everything, none of that
Will stay the
changes.
same.
That's state statute, regardless of your form of government.
Okay, so we talk about some new costs to this new form of government potentially, but still we'll have to work within the same number that the Board of Selectmen and a town meeting would have to work within. And my tax is relative, if we were to meet the levy versus town meeting versus town council budget, the levy is the levy. We can only max out to where we can max out. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How often do we meet the levy traditionally in East Long Meadow? Half the time? Maybe more than half?
You know, I don't want to take a guess because I could be wrong. I can tell you, as chair of the appropriations, the last couple of years we have recommended a budget somewhat below the levy limit. And if all of you can recall, because I speak of that $25 per thousand cap, our property values aren't rising like they once did, so the tax rate continues to absorb all the increases. This year, I can tell you again, we're proposing a budget to town meeting that leaves $1 million of unused levy capacity. So I
guess the bottom line.
The last 10 years, I don't know, maybe 75% of the time, I don't know, Greg, I really don't.
I guess what I'm trying to make is that there are additional costs, but we'd still have to work within the parameters of what we're allowed to tax people. We can't skyrocket taxes all of a sudden because we change our form of government.
No, that's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Marie from 608 Parker Street, East Long Meadow. I have a particular question around into the mic. I hate these things. Okay, I have a particular question around appointments during transition versus appointments that are listed in the first part. And so on page 11, under section number 16, talks about it's referencing the town manager shall, where does it go here? What am I looking for? Approximately around where, oh, is that the right place?
Personnel
No,
management.
I'm sorry, 19, where the vacancies of boards and committees will be posted, and there'll be a process for notification to the townspeople that there's an opening. Under the transition process on page 29, section 7 on that last page, the town manager shall assume timely appointment of members and may establish a process where the residents are notified of vacancies and may apply. And I was curious as to because that implies he doesn't have to during the transition process versus ongoing business.
Give me this section, I want to make sure my answer is correct. Give me this section in the transition section again.
It is on page 29, under the second paragraph there, notwithstanding section 7, the town manager shall timely appoint members and may establish a process where residents are notified of vacancies and may apply to serve.
You have to keep reading. Initial appointment shall be arranged to achieve the staggered terms as described in the charter. The town manager shall seek to maintain a full complement of members on each board as reasonably possible. The manager shall fill vacancies whether due to resignation, removal from the town, or other circumstances. So
but the
none of this, he still has to abide by the article, I forgot in the previous section,
Where it says he shall notify, because it specifically changes the language to may notify.
He does, and in fact,
which implies he doesn't have to tell people.
There is somewhere in here, there's a section about if there's conflicting articles, the more stricter prevails.
Okay,
yeah.
so the shall would have to apply.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Marilyn Richards again. Eric, when Gregory Thompson was up here talking about the levy limit and our taxes, is it possible, or I mean, I understand, we can only raise so much in levy, but we might have incremental increases in our expenses as a town with this government change. So
we have incremental increases
well, I know
now.
that, but we could anticipate more. And I'm just wondering, with these new positions that we are talking about, they could be utilized with individuals in place, but they could be other people. So we may be creating different, positions or departments. You're talking about the Human Resources Department, which is not yet funded, but should be. Can we anticipate that there might be a reduction in service because our expenses are going up and yet our levy limit is preventing us from generating more revenue? Could we see a decrease in level of service, period?
So I'm going to take off my appropriations hat for a second, put on my charter hat.
Okay.
And the answer is no. There's nothing in there that says if a town manager adds positions, that he has to add positions and can't find efficiencies elsewhere to fund those positions. So the reorganization that he could potentially do is he could evaluate all the departments and say, okay, this one's quite heavy and this one's quite light. I want to add to this one, but I'm going to detract from this one. So added positions don't necessarily mean added funding. Could it? Yes, it could.
Okay.
The charter is silent to it's mandated or not. It's really up to the town manager and the town council to then fund it. Again, if it's added funding, the council has to fund it. I've forgotten the first part. I was going to put on my appropriations hat and answer that, but.
Well, I just, I'm seeing that there is a potential for change financially, and we would anticipate that. I just wasn't sure that with one person setting the budget, he or she might have an interest in a certain department adding, say, creating a full-time fire department. I mean, that's out there. So that money has to come from someplace else. So other departments might take a hit because this department now is being focused as a priority for the town. And so we might see a decrease in the level of service someplace else.
I understand you're saying, and I'm not going to say that can't happen. Of course it can happen. Okay. Understand, the town manager proposes the budget to the council. The council is who fixes the budget. So the town manager would have to sell the council on this is what's right for the town. The town manager does that within his budget, but the council is who has the final say.
And in that vote of the council,
let me just back up. You also have, if the council were to pass something that the residents didn't feel best served the town, they could actually, using the citizen initiative measures, get that measure reversed.
With that particular action of the council, is that a supermajority vote or is that a simple majority vote?
As it relates to the budget,
yes,
it would be a majority vote.
Thank you.
Right? It's not a supermajority, right? Just wanted to check, make sure I was right.
Susan Grimaldi, 48 Millbrook Drive. Appreciate all the hard work that's gone on. We've been having different neighborhood meetings that have been asking different questions, and one is East Long Meadow is not the only town to have a proposal for a charter. Okay.
For a charter change?
Change, correct. One of the figures, and I didn't quite have that set down, is that how many towns are currently using the council town manager? I heard it was like 136 to 156, somewhere in through there.
I'm going to hope, I know we had gathered that data. I don't remember it.
I couldn't remember it myself, that's why I wrote it down.
I'm channeling Ralph Page here, but there are 351 communities in Massachusetts. In order to have a council, you have to have more than 12,000 people. That means there are 156 communities which are eligible to have a council. Of those, 50 have a council. So 1/3 of the eligible communities have a council. And I might add that no community that has ever adopted a council has ever gone back to town meeting.
That was going to be my second question.
Yes.
So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And once again, thank you all. Because we know with the Board of Selectmen in effect, any changes, when it comes to taxes, if you want a full-time fire department, we're still going to get increases. If you want to increase the police department, we're still going to have increases along the line. That's why we need somebody who is fiscally sound and can concentrate right on the budget to do the best for the town. That's the accountability, because if that town manager does not do his job, then the council are going to take care of him, and we're not going to have to deal with what we've been dealing with lately. So thank you very much for your work, your service to the town.
That's our hope. Thank you.
Hi, Gary Landers again, East Long Meadow. On the town manager and the subject to recall, so that the residents of East Long Meadow will not have the ability to recall the town manager, is that true?
No, you already asked that. That's correct.
No, I did not
They're
ask
hired by the council. The town manager is hired and fired by the council.
Okay, I didn't ask that question before.
Okay.
And then secondly, so you're saying there's 1/3 of the communities eligible that have this form of government, is that true, right? That's what you said, George? Okay, do they have this exact written charter this way? Or they just have that form of government but written differently? So let's clarify that.
If you can, yeah.
Every town and city charter is unique. There are
you.
no two charters that are exactly the same, because there are no two communities which are the same.
Okay.
That's why we could not just take a form from the state and say, rubber stamp it. We worked through a whole bunch of different charters and tried to select those aspects that we felt were most appropriate for the town and the people of East Long Meadow.
I just wanted to make sure people didn't think that there's 50 other communities with this exact same written charter. This one's unique. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Uh-oh. Oh, now you broke it.
Hang on, I'll get it.
Yeah, he's working on it. There you go.
I'm going to dance with this. Mike Cicenti, Crescent Hill. 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
True or not true that zoning bylaws could be changed with 2 consecutive town council meetings?
I believe it is true as long as it is a 2/3 vote and they've held the appropriate public hearings.
When you, Eric, when you say 2/3, does that mean 5 out of 7, or does that mean 4 out of 7?
It does. If you actually do the math, I think 2/3 is 4.6 or something like that, so it has to be 5 members.
Okay. Second question, my final question for the night. How many members of the town council will it take to approve a new high school?
While the town council, I'm going to kind of wear both hats now, the appropriations committee and the charter commission. All the town council could do is approve it going to a ballot question. That would require a $40 million or $60 million, or like East Long Meadow was what, 80 million, would definitely require a debt exclusion vote. So it would require, what the council could vote is to let it go to a ballot vote. The council could not pass it. Yes, a majority vote.
4 members of the town council.
But they don't pass it. They allow it to go.
They allow it on the ballot.
Yes.
So 4 members put it on the ballot, and then whatever we have,
Then the
1,500, 2,000 people vote for it or against it, or they pack the ballot box. Okay.
Well, or people pack the ballot box against it. I mean, that's the way it works. It's democracy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for your answers.
Hello, Maureen Wilson, Colony Drive. Thank you all for your consideration and time and efforts. I have a question on your frequently asked questions. I think
Okay.
it goes back to that. You had said if the voters weren't happy with the decision made by the council, they could question that or petition it.
Yes.
Is that a voter, or do you need a number of voters?
Well, there's a number of voters. There's a process outlined in Article 8. I mean, you at a forum, you could always ask them to reconsider. By going through the process in here with the required number of votes, you force them to reconsider. So they have to reconsider. If you go stand before them and ask them to reconsider, they can say no. But if you bring under the article, the petition forward, then they have to reconsider.
Okay, and then things are on hold until that is resolved? Is that what you said?
Yes, if a citizen's petition, if they reconsider it and they say, no, we're going to continue with our action, and a citizen's petition brings it to a ballot question, while that's being decided, it's on stay. It doesn't.
So on the flip side of that, is there a way or a loophole for a group of people or a petition to put something on hold or keep it in petition in perpetuum?
No, there's, I know that, I don't remember the restrictions. Once it's decided, it's decided. They can't bring it back up again.
Thank you.
But let me find the specific language. I do remember that being a topic.
Within 21 days, 500 people would petition, and then if they don't act on it, it's suspended
Right.
in the meantime.
Right.
And then they certify, then the town attorney, and then if not, then it goes to the ballot.
Hi, Chris. Good.
Keep looking, because I'm pretty sure
We
put a
did talk,
restriction in
yeah.
there that once it. No, I was just, he's going to look for the language because I'm pretty sure we had put a provision in there that you can't just keep bringing back the same thing for town vote over and over and over again. It's voted on, it's done. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening, John Mayberry, 215 Prospect Street, and in full disclosure, I am the chairman of the Board of Public Works, so I am an elected official as well. So again, I want to make sure everybody on the Charter Committee knows that I applaud all your work, I applaud all your time, I applaud your travel and all the things that you've had to deal with, both in the learning experience and perhaps with some of the voiced concerns or other issues that you have to deal with. Being a board member for 21 years, I get it, and I certainly understand. So I just want to make sure you know that. But I have been studying this charter. I could probably give you page numbers, article numbers, section numbers pretty quickly if you need to know that. But I have a couple of things I want to clear up. If this doesn't pass, I heard somebody say 2 years. I actually was in the presence of an attorney. We looked and went online, got some information made available, and all that has to happen is this goes back on the ballot at an election to form the charter, just as we've done before, and anybody who wants to come at it again is more than welcome to be on it again. Anybody that's had enough and wants to get off can take an exit, and other people may opt to be put into that process. So I just want to clarify, it's not a 2 or 3 year thing.
I disagree. There is within the statute. and I don't
Give me a
have-
statute, because I was in the presence of an attorney and called the state, and,
Look at that as well.
all right,
The
Mr.
attorney's looking.
All right, so I just want to, I just don't want it to make, to people, to make it seem like this is an impossible thing to perhaps revisit this and get a few things changed on it. So one of the things I just want to ask a question on and make sure I'm clear on this is at our current town meeting, possibly 2 of them, and I know recent history has been 2 of them, we put up several articles. They come from within the town, from the different departments, and they also come in the form of petitions. You know, will you please take my street? Will you, can we do this? Can we do something on the Brown Farm? Can we do this? Can we do that? There's lots of things that go. Usually, I don't know, I don't memorize that, but it's 18 to 20-something articles. And in a matter of a couple of hours, I did a quick head count. I think there's about 100 people in here, so we're looking at a relative concerned group of individuals. And if we say that people don't go to the town meeting because they're not concerned, I guess I would say they don't come here because they're not concerned. But I'll move forward to the question.
Please.
We go through several warrant articles. There's a yes, another yes, a question, a no, a yes, a no, a yes. At the end of the meeting, we've conducted quite a bit of business, and the residents, the taxpayers, the voters, get a chance right then and there, without taking more of their time, to yes or no what we want to be done with our dollars, with our bylaws, with farmland that we want to turn into baseball fields or anything else. All those things come forward. Now all those are going to go to the town council, and they're going to make one meeting, is the way I understand it, one meeting.
John, do you have a question of clarification?
I do. I'm trying to make sure you understand it.
I understand how things work now.
Okay,
So go
well,
ahead,
I'm not
ask your
sure everybody
question.
does, so I'm... So now we go to one council meeting, and they say, yeah, I think we should spend that money. I think we should supermajority change that bylaw. We're going to get the minutes from that meeting no later than prior to the second meeting. That could mean like these quick, selectmen meeting, oh, no selectmen meeting, and then all of a sudden, at that second meeting, we have to come there and try and understand what's being presented at that hearing and give some valid input. They listen, and then they vote the way they want. Now, if a group of people didn't want it, the new process is we have to find 500 signatures in 21 days for every one of each individual town council vote that they take that might not be the will of the voter or the taxpayer. Is that correct?
Repeat the question, say that again.
I have no problem because...
You got long,
Okay. Warrant articles.
Yes.
They get put out there way in advance. People know they're coming.
Yes.
They go into the reminder, plenty of notice. They go to the town meeting, people have had time to understand them, and they could be for a plethora of things, a variety of zoning and all that, right? And then there's a vote, yes or no, usually within 2 or 3 hours. I've been to most town meetings in the last 21 years.
Yeah. What's your question again, John?
So my question is, the new process under this new charter, our vote as taxpayers, not as a DPW guy, our vote as taxpayers, it's gone at the town meeting, so we need to follow every meeting of the town council and know exactly what they're bringing up, because this week they bring up, they want to do a bylaw, they want to do some additional spending, they want to do something on the Brown farm.
So
the minutes for that meeting, this is my question, the minutes for that meeting don't need to be in our hands to know what's going on until the day, or until prior to the next meeting. A minute, an hour, a day. Then we have to go to the second meeting to voice our opinion, which is the only vote we have left. We go to the second meeting, and we sit there and we try and articulate why we're concerned. We just heard about the official stuff an hour or a day ago, and we want to have you change your, don't do that. And they go, no, we've looked into this for a while. I know you're just getting caught up to it. And they vote yes. We now, as voters, have to run around and get 500 signatures in 21 days on every one of those things that can be happening every other week, all year long. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's...
Just say yes, because it is.
No, it's correct that you have to get the signatures to...
The answer is yes.
It's correct, you have to get the number of signatures to petition.
For each and every one, because it says for every one.
Yes, but the council
Don't give me the hypothetical that we're going to get good council members that are going to know what all these voters want to do.
Okay. We're not going to debate, okay? I'm trying to answer your question. The council has to operate following all the open meeting laws. It is taped by our bylaw and broadcasted on LCAT. They can't do it in a clandestine room passing things without your knowledge, and you don't have to wait for the meeting minutes to come out. You can just go on LCAT and watch it and see how they voted and what they went on. You can attend the meetings, you can read the postings under the open meeting laws. There are many measures that require public hearings. There are many measures that require it being taken up at more than one meeting. So to just blanket everything with a statement like that is inaccurate.
Well, what was the answer to my question? Is it 2 meetings and then we have to get 500 signatures in 21 days for everything we might not agree that they do as voters compared to a town meeting?
Yes, if you want to challenge a vote that was taken, yes, you have to follow the outline under the citizens' initiative measures.
That's perfect. I just want to make sure everybody got that part of it because that's pretty critical. Thank you.
Excuse me, Eric, we have the readings also from the state.
1 second.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Do you want me to answer each of the questions?
Sure.
Okay.
So the 2 questions that we were looking up, he's going to bring the answer up for you.
And just one more response to the prior speaker. We still have open meeting law. We still have to have an agenda posted where we have prior notice of what's going to be on the agenda. And just as we have seen recently, we've all been noticed and attended and had our voice heard, albeit may not have been the voice that we wanted to be heard. The question on the citizen initiative, was it citizen referendum procedure? The vote of either the school committee or the town council, if the 500 voters disagreed with the decision made by those elected boards, would be submitted. The action would be immediately suspended, and then the town council, SEL town's attorney, would vote on the validity of the petition, and assuming it was accepted in a valid form, then the school committee, if it was questioning them, or the town council would put the issue on a town election, either at a special election they could call, or would be at the next regular town election. I hope that answered that question. As far as if the charter is defeated on April 12th, there are two routes. If the state law states, and I'll read it, I'll try and paraphrase it. A charter submitted to the voters in accordance with the provisions of this chapter, which has failed of approval at a town election, but which has received the affirmative votes of not less than 35% of those voting on the question, shall be considered an optional charter for such town, and upon the petition of 10% of the registered voters of such town, said optional charter shall be resubmitted to the voters at a regular town election held no later than the second year following the original submission of the original charter. So if you follow that, there is another option, and I think I spoke to someone at the state recently on this. Rather than that, you can go and do the whole process all over again, which is, as you can imagine, cumbersome.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
There are also provisions in Chapter 43B, which is what covers all this home rule, for revisions of an existing charter. So it is entirely possible, if you find that the town finds that something's not working, there are specific procedures for revising an existing charter. So if it passes and a year in, 6 months in, you find something doesn't work, there are procedures for changing the charter once it's adopted.
Good, thank you. Yes.
Okay, Susan Grimaldi. Everybody's talking, or not everybody, there's been a lot of talk about going to the town meeting, having the representation and everything. Well, we've been at a lot of town meetings where they didn't make the quota that they needed, and they had to make phone calls to get people in. Then there's been other ones where special things have been put forward, so the people that are interested in passing it have come, and then they left afterwards. And what ended up happening is there was times it was said, well, I hope nobody questions if there's a quorum, because we could not finish conducting the town business. So I went on our town's website, which is a ton of information, and I had asked Tom Florence where exactly I could find it. So one of the things here, it says the town meetings, and there was a part there, voter count for elections. I'm seeing the one that they have up to date was 10/27/14. 11,220 voters, 1% turnout. Then there's 2% turnout, 3. So when I'm looking down for like the last 10 years, we're looking about not having the people committed going to the town meeting. Yes, you want your voice heard, but the charter is allowing for your voice to be heard. A lot of people, when they go to town meetings, the ones that do show up, the 1%, 2%, 3%, okay, there are other people that have thoughts on their mind, but there's a fear factor. They don't want to come up and say something because they don't want their neighbor to be upset. They don't want maybe one of their friends going through. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you, right, do you have a question?
Yes. Do you see this changing, the amount of attendance at town meeting increasing dramatically because of this?
you know, the only way I can answer that is say the attendance at the town meeting was not under the charge of the Charter Commission, so we really don't have an official answer for that.
Okay, thank you.
We've never had to cancel a town meeting or lack of a quorum, have we?
So I have 40, John Mayberry again, I have 43B in my hand on my electronic device, and there's lots of stuff in here. Bottom line is, we can vote in another charter, we can take what's been done, they can redo their things, and we can do it. I would even step up to be on the charter, okay? Let it be known that that's one thing I would do. The point about the town meeting that I think there's some other validity to just kind of think about as we stand together. 21 years on the Board of Public Works, involved in what comes to town meeting discussions for what can be put on the warrant. There are far more items that never make the town meeting because people know what the track record is for some of the obscure requests that come through to people to try and, hey, we're going to try and get this passed. And before it even gets to the town meeting, there is that veil of the town meeting that kind of gets people to vet what might kind of be an appropriate thing to be put on. And then when it gets put on, the votes can be taken. I'm a pretty busy guy. I do a lot of things. So the last point I just want to make is, and then have a little bit of a push here for something that I want to promote, but the last thing I want to say is, are you really asking those 1%, 3%, 5%, 7%, are you really asking them to come to all of the town council meetings? And are we going to move town council meetings to the high school so that this interested group that our prior speaker just spoke of, and the way that I hear you talking about, everybody should be interested, we should know what's going on, are we going to move the town council meeting to the high school?
That's not a question relevant to the content of the charter. I just want to remind everybody, I can appreciate all the statements pro and con being made here. Our purpose here tonight is answer questions that are pertinent to the content of the charter. The location of a council meeting...
Or how many people wouldn't come into
A location of
it?
a council meeting is not part of the charter. The council can decide to hold it wherever they see fit. So I would ask that you limit your things to questions pertinent to the content of the charter and not, please, no more.
All right, so I'm done with the questions, but next Wednesday night here at 6 o'clock, there is a public forum open for concerned citizens and full discussion about our home charter rule, which I think is very important. So I just want everybody to know that next Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, unlimited discussions about whatever you think is important, and there will be a presentation that kind of highlights some of the things that are in the charter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'm a little confused. So you're saying we're going to elect 7 council members.
Correct.
Those 7 council members are going to appoint a town manager
Correct.
who may or may not be from East Long Meadow.
Correct.
That man or woman or whatever, sorry, I'm trying to be politically correct. That town manager then is going to appoint people to be on boards and committees, and what he says goes, and he's going to make all the, it sounds like he's going to make all the decisions for us, and the council's going to have a conversation about it at a meeting kind of like we had last night. Well, maybe not like last night, but have a conversation about what they're talking about. But these 5, 7 people have appointed this man, so they must have something that they like about this guy who...
Ma'am, do you have a question, please? Enough.
Yeah, how can we do that? How can we appoint someone to be the voice of a town who A, doesn't live here, and it's like what happened for the last 4 months.
If after reading the charter, if that's the way you feel, then please express that at the ballot box. But your question is impertinent to the content of the charter. So.
Yes, I want to know, why is it an appointment and not an elect? Why can't the town manager be elected?
We would, okay, so what I'm going to take your question as, why did we choose a town manager versus a mayor? Is that what you're asking?
An elected
Okay.
member of
So
the council.
The simple reason was that and we put it right in the charter, that we wanted somebody who was specially qualified, educated, and experienced in town fiscal, well, not just fiscal, but town management.
What's educated, you sound now? We want the best person around the county.
Okay.
Right.
And that could be anybody in any of the 50 states or anybody?
Yeah, we've established that, ma'am.
Oh, no, okay, I'm just checking.
Yes.
Yeah, with proper education. Eric? After Greg. Yeah.
Just a question on
Last question, folks.
the reconsideration of the charter. Attorney Levine, you touched on it. If it doesn't pass, but it can be reconsidered within 2 years, one of the prior speakers was saying, you said something about shelving it. Does that mean there can be changes to the charter and then we can vote on it again in 2 years, or it has to be the same exact as presented? Do you know?
Has to be the same.
Same.
Has to be the same.
Has to be the same exact.
Under that rule.
Within the 2 years. So the only other way to do this is to go through the whole.
No, okay.
Okay, that's all I'm asking the question.
There are two procedures you can do, depending on the number of the percentage. Oh, sorry. The percentage voting, if it was 35% voting in favor, and then subsequent to that 10% of the voters petition who voted during that election, then the selectmen could put it on the ballot in the same form no later than 2 years after. Correct? Correct. Okay. In the alternative, scrap that procedure, regardless of what percentage voted in favor of it. You could start this whole process all over again, and you could do that, but you would have to do that at the election box, just like we were.
But first through petition article? Would it go through the whole petition process again, as this charter was?
Yes, just like last
How many
April.
signatures was that?
1,500, 1,800, something like that.
So in order to reconsider anything other than this document, we have to go through the whole entire process that hasn't been done, and when was the last time we actually did that process?
2000.
Was that a petition?
It was the same process that we're going through now.
Okay. So 10 years maybe, we might look at it again, without going through this whole process. The only way we can do this in 2 years is if we look at this document again. Or get the 1,500 signatures and go through the charter process again. Okay, so highly unlikely. So this is it, folks. We have this or what we have today. That's it. Okay?
And just one comment on that. The fact that this would pass doesn't mean that it can't be changed in the future. It's not in stone. We can't state that everything will work the way we think it will work. We may find things that need change, and there's a process to change.
Thank you.
So that's it for this evening, folks. I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn our meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.